TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.
Climate change is actually one of the greatest challenges of our time. From rising temperature to flooding to death, diseases, there's a lot that's really happening around the world, and this can all be traced to climate change. The science about climate change is actually very circuit. People could actually see, you could read into it and understand that these are the things that are leading or are causing the things that we have today. And we have somebody who's been in the forefront helping Nigerians understand climate change. And presently there is actually a youth initiative that is pioneering with other people, to help us get to that place where we could fight, mitigate, and even have climate adaptation in Nigeria. So welcome to Greenhousing on Housing TV Africa. My name is Ubong Osoro. We'll go on a short break, and when we're back, we'll go straight to our discussion for today. Don't go nowhere.
Get credible and authentic housing news at your fingertips by downloading the Housing TV mobile app. You can also join the African International Housing Show live from across the globe through the Housing TV mobile app. The mobile app features live streaming and trending housing news. You can locate the AIHS venue via the app, network with AIHS seasoned speakers, and live chat with exhibitors. You can also order house or building materials at AIHS via this app. Download the Housing TV mobile app now from the App Store and Google Play Store. And don't forget to click on the notification button. Available for both iOS and Android users. Housing TV is also on Star Times, channel 149 decoder.
If you're just joining us, this is Greenhousing on Housing TV Africa. My name is Ubong Osoro, and I am your host. I have with me Mr. Kenneth Akpan. Mr. Kenneth Akpan is actually Climate Justice Coordinator for Oxfam in Nigeria. You're welcome to Housing TV, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, so today I told you that I want to talk about youth action and how it helps to combat climate change, because I know you are at the forefront, of driving this inclusion, especially with the Oxfam Youth Initiative and something like that. Tell us about yourself. Let's start on the lighter note and how you got into, being a climate advocate.
Yeah, thank you, Ubong. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Good evening, Nigerians. Yeah, for me, climate change, I realized, has always been something I had a passion for growing up. I remember going to collect, going to the refuse dump to collect items that I will use eventually to make cars for myself. Because I remember back then, my dad had bought me a car, finished product, and then when it got bad, he felt I should be more responsible taking care of it. But I thought I could also, make my own cars. So most times I'll run to the refuse bin, collect corks, collect tins, and come together and put up a very beautiful car. And I ended up selling some of those cars for kids back then. So looking back now, I realized that it has always been in me to be in this space to see how I can make the world better. And I'm not surprised I'm here giving my own little contributions to it.
Okay, so the place of Nigeria in combating climate change, people have talked about the fact that Nigeria doesn't really, have so much emission because we are not really a producing country, in quotes, but we are at the forefront of the impact of climate change because we don't have the systems. Let's talk about that. How prepared are we as a country with the work you've done with Oxfam? I know you have some data, you have some statistics. What can you say about climate resilience and mitigation of climate change?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is Africans generally and Nigeria in particular, we have contributed little as less as 3% to the global emissions ever since. But you can see most times when the impact or devastating impact of climate change happens, it happens more with the third world country or the global south as they call it, which Nigeria is also one of them, majorly Africa, and the Latin American part of the world. We realize that the preparedness is not there. Why? Because there is so much depth of infrastructure, knowledge, and also capacity to respond to some of these realities when it comes. For example, flooding. We've had several cases in Nigeria which we can use as a yardstick to see how responsive has our government been and how prepared were we. In fact, we even know that this flooding might still come. But again, we always record numbers of devastating impact effects because, again, it still shows the gap, which is lack of infrastructure and also capacity to handle this crisis when they come. So most times for Oxfam in Nigeria, Oxfam, I would say, is an organization that is well over in 70 countries. We are more interested in fighting poverty and making sure there's equality everywhere. And this fight cannot be possible when those factors exacerbating these conditions are there. Climate change is one of them. So mitigation, resilience are all what we call, we are fighting for in that platform called climate justice, gender justice, whereby communities, countries like Nigeria that have contributed little or nothing to this devastating impact are being listened to, are being considered to what we call climate justice, whereby whatever discussion is going out there on climate change globally, by most especially those responsible, we believe they should do it in a just and favorable manner to those countries like Nigeria that are suffering this impact that they really didn't cause much. So for Oxfam, climate justice, gender justice is a very key area that we are very interested to solving and making sure that the realities, the contextualization of climate change, because its impact is different. It's different from one place to the other. Context in the sense that how we prepared, how ready are we for this? Capacity-wise, Nigeria needs about 29 billion US dollar every year to be able to meet this gap. But what comes to Nigeria globally, to an extent, most times is around 2.5 billion US dollars. And you can see the gap. The gap is so much that something has to be done. And something being done is coming down to the table and speaking these conditions justly that Nigeria, countries that have been impacted and contributing nothing or less to this climate change can, be given priority when it comes to funding. Most funding that are coming as loans and not grants. And what we are pushing for is that we should be doing more of grants than loans, because at the end of the day, with all these problems on ground, most times the government is handicapped because the loans that come in, government will have to still meet other needs like insecurity, like food insecurity, all of that, all hinge on these loans. And the real essence of the loans being collected in the first place or being assessed in the first place cannot be, be met. So that is why justice and just transition is something that we are always promoting for fairness to countries like Nigeria.
Okay, so let's talk about working with the youth, young people. I know you've done a lot of programs with helping young people get information. How's it been working with young people as to actualizing all of this?
Yeah, I would say young people are a gift to Nigeria. Why I say so is because over 70% of our population are young people. And for us, it is an advantage and it is something we must, if we are ready to solve this climate crisis or challenge head on, we must involve the youth. Again, the future belongs to them. And there's no way you can discuss climate change or you discuss the future without the owners of the future. They own the future. So we have looked at that and we've seen that even for Nigeria to meet her NDC goals, for the SDGs to be met, without the youth, all of those goals will still stay where they are, or maybe little progress will be made. The youths are versatile, the youths have energy, the youths are tech savvy, and for climate change, most times information, education, And the ability to solve this crisis could just be in that connections which the youth have, the energy to mobilize, the energy to network, the energy to use social media on all those platforms to engage. And the youths have always been ever ready. We have seen the impact of Nigerian youths. We have seen protests that have gone on, NSAS and all of that. All of this energy, if properly harnessed, can help Nigeria achieve our goals. Oxfam in Nigeria is promoting this by, through the Climate Justice Youth Ambassador Platform. It's a platform where we believe that youths can have a platform to be ambassadors of their future. And it is not just transcending, it's not just at that level. Youth up to the grassroots level want a platform whereby the youth can take charge and also engage even up to primary school children with the knowledge of climate change impact and also how to prepare them for the future. The future starts now. It is not yesterday. If I will ask you, we are heading to 250 million Nigerians, and we have 70% of this population being youths. How many of these youths have planted a tree? If you can just take that number, like say every youth has a tree to himself or herself, you can imagine the impact that would have made already in our fight for climate change. So these are the knowledge, these are the narratives, these are what we are pushing to make them take charge, to be on the table when climate change issues are being discussed, and also to make sure that their voice are being heard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we go on a break, I'd like to ask this question now. Let's talk about the media, because the media is also very important and key in pushing the climate information. How have you been able to work with the media, and how responsive have the media been to you and in joining this cause?
Yeah, thank you very much for that very important question. I lead a project called the African Activists for Climate Justice. So what that project is all about is about, bringing out the voices of vulnerable communities, youth, people living with disability, all of that, bringing it out so their voices are being heard, and also their narrative, their story. But we cannot tell this story without the media. So we have identified the power of the media, and in our engagement over the past 4 years, we've made sure that the media have always been on the table. And our approach is this: we don't want the media to always come and cover an event, but we always want the media to be part of the event. So they sit at the table, we discuss the issues, they bring their own ideas, we work as partners, and then they now carry these stories out there without any, willingly, because they understand the issue of climate change, that it belongs to, it's a problem of every one person. The heat, the food insecurity are all linked to climate change, and it affects everybody. So nobody can stand in isolation and say it is their thing. But the media now is also a partner, and it is our thing. So because of that collective understanding, we know that the media has always been that force to tell this story, to take the message out. Without the media, this fight, this push, this movement will not go any far. So we have always engaged the media, and they have been very, very cooperative. Anytime you call on them, they are always part of it. We've had documentaries, we have had on their own covering stories. Sometimes I'm just surprised that, okay, they have taken it on their own to be ambassadors themselves. So even among the Climate Justice Youth Ambassadors, we have media persons, we have lawyers, we have people from all walks of life, just to promote the cause that this is our thing, and to be ambassadors at any given time, any given place. Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, guys, let's go on a short break, and when we're right back, Greenhousing continues.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa.
This is Greenhousing, if you're just joining us, a program that takes a look at our climate, our environment, helping us to leave the environment better than what we came to meet. Today I have Mr. Kenneth Akpan, who is actually the Climate Justice Coordinator for Oxfam in Nigeria, helping us make sense of the discussion. We're talking about youth-led action to combating climate change. So let's mention some of the youth-led action that Oxfam has either supervised or have partnered in Nigeria to combating climate change. Can you think of some of them?
Okay, let me say a few of them. So for that one, very foremost is awareness, youth mobilization for them to take charge, take the message out there and create awareness in their own local domain. We have had competitions over the past 3 years whereby we throw out what we call Green Challenge to Nigerian youths to come up with ideas, innovative ideas around climate change and how it impacts their community and their own solutions. And you'll be amazed at what Nigerian youth can do or can think of. So that challenge is something that's been going on, and then it is even from that challenge that we had to come up with the climate justice youth ambassadors, because those participants eventually emerged to become these ambassadors for sustainability, for continuity. Again, last year, the Honorable Minister for Environment inaugurated that platform on the World Environment Day. And also, we had what we call the Minister's Cup, which is also a quiz competition for secondary school students across Nigeria. We hopefully that we are going to make it big. Last year was also inaugurated by the Honorable Minister for Environment. We hope that this year will be bigger and better with more people joining us. And I think your station should be a partner of it too. And also, we have also seen where youths have we have built their capacity around climate smart agriculture, and not just the youth, even youth that are living with disability have also been engaged in this. We have also built their capacity in what we call community development plan, or DRR. We have built a capacity to engage with policymakers, to engage with their leaders, and to table what challenges they are facing in their communities. The youths have been taught about how they can draft, identify, and proffer solutions to these challenges, and also to meet with what we call advocacy engagement with those at the National Assembly, the State Assembly, at all levels. We have also empowered them to do what we call producing briquettes, because we noticed that over time the federal government has done very big, massive campaign around energy saving stoves. Yes, deployed many stoves in millions to households and to communities. But the very big gap has always been, what is the fuel that people will use for these energy saving stoves? You will see that our forest has been depleted seriously because people will still have to cook. So we have taught people, youths particularly, how to use waste from agricultural waste, farm waste, and environment to produce these briquettes without cutting down trees. This is another way of bridging that gap that the energy saving stoves had created in felling of trees around the country. And we have also built a capacity around planting of trees, raising of nursery, and also planting economic trees for future benefits. We have done a lot in that area, but more importantly is building their capacity to take charge and to lead, particularly with this Climate Justice Youth Ambassador. We are just going to be behind the scene and give them the capacity and the opportunity to lead. We have taken youths to COP, where they have gone there to also express themselves around with other youths around the world at different COPs, and we are still doing more.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the issue of funding, because it's also very important. How do you generate funds? Do you have donations from organizations or individuals or even governments? Because all of these things that you've talked about needs some level of funding.
Yeah. So you see, funding has always been a very, very big issue, which it still is. Like with the recent happenings around the world, with US cutting down, funding and all of that, you see the ripple effect. And I'm also using this opportunity to call on African leaders that it is about time that our leaders look inwards, because we cannot continue to be an aid-dependent country or continent. Enough of that already. We should begin to look inward. We have, private sectors. We have individuals. Oxfam believe in the rich paying more or what we call the rich polluters to pay more. We have done those campaigns. If we can look inwards, we have individuals, we have private sector, even as their corporate social responsibilities, they can also engage. Like for example, the media house, carrying stories on climate change, awareness creation, is also a contribution that doesn't really need for monies to be paid. So there are instances like that in your own little space. What can you do to contribute? In your own street, what can you do to contribute to this? Sometimes it's not really about cash. Sometimes it's just the capacity that people, the environment, the enabling environment, or the policies that governments are enacting, the enforcement of these policies. Once these policies are enforced, we will have less problem. For example, the devastating felling of trees that is ongoing right now, we don't need it. A policy can put that to check, because 10, 20 years from now, we will suffer the devastating impact of what is going on now. But if that policy that the government has already enacted, even through the Climate Change Act, is as simple as implementing these policies, once you do that, it will put so much in check that you will not have to spend so much tomorrow. So sometimes it's not just about money, but the willpower and the capacity to implement these very vital, simple policies, which Nigeria has a lot already. It's just to implement these things. And then we'll save so much money in the future and even in the present.
So as somebody who's been in the sector, what is the greatest challenge in fighting climate change in Nigeria?
Yeah, the greatest challenge will be, for me, honestly, will be policy implementation.
Okay.
Yes, because you have these beautiful policies, you have these beautiful ideas, and then you are seeing these things happen. And then you, at your own capacity, civil society organizations, there are little or not much you can do. You can at least go to an extent, highlight these issues, but it still boils down with the government that has the hammer to strike and to make sure, stamp a feet on the ground that these things happen, these things stop. And again, we will not relent. We will keep encouraging youth and Nigerians to keep demanding for accountability, to keep asking the government what is going on, why is this going on? Because it is through that platform, engagement, accountability, that the government sometimes will be forced to do the needful. But for me, majorly, is that policy and then funding, like you say, to push most of this. And one very angle again that is there, but sometimes education and enlightenment, or people readily accepting climate change as a reality and nothing meets. It's something we have met, in the field, and that people, you tell them to move, flood is coming because of the predictions, the weather predictions, and they will say no, they have been there for ages, the ancestral home, they can't move, and then it happens, and people lose their lives, properties, and all that. So with all of this, people are beginning to accept climate change as a reality, because at least you've been able to predict it happened, and then when it happened, next time you come with the same narrative, they'll listen to you. So there's still that part that is still laid back like a myth. And with the global narrative right now, the people that should be in the forefront pulling back, pulling out, some of them still calling climate change a myth. I'm talking about the US, for example. You can imagine what other countries would say or will feel like. So for me, it's something that we must take personal. Let us understand that this thing is real, it affects us more, and try to do our little best to see how we can secure our own world, our own environment to start with.
Okay, so the last question I have for you on the show today, let's talk about collaboration. How has it been collaborating with government and with other NGOs to push? Have you had a favorable environment as far as collaboration is concerned?
Yes, we've had favorable environment, I must say, with collaboration. In fact, the truth of the matter is that you cannot fight climate change alone. It's a collective effort, and it has to do with everybody on board. So gone are the days where people see it as a competitive front, where people want to do their own thing, hide knowledge and all of that. There's no more isolation. Even the funders today, they will tell you, get yourselves together. They prefer to fund consortiums. They prefer people to come together, because the more the merrier. And this challenge is global, is everywhere. So we've enjoyed that with other NGOs, with the government. It's been, fine and going. We've also enjoyed promoting development of climate policies in Nasarawa, Adama, and Bauchi states. This is something that, with the government support, that is being made possible. And also as a consortium, working with other sister NGOs to see how we can together solve this problem. The truth of the matter is that it's everybody's business, and then everybody has to be on the table.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth Akpan, Climate Justice Coordinator for Oxfam in Nigeria, for sharing the work, all of the things you are doing to mitigate the climate crisis in Nigeria with us. We hope to collaborate with you and have more impact, as we have an environment I'll be proud of. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nigerians. Good evening.
And that's the size of our show for today. Keep watching Housing TV Africa. Don't forget you could follow us on all social media platforms. Download the Housing TV mobile app on Google Play Store or Apple Store. My name is Ubong Osara. Bye for now.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.